Hey, we're going to get started here in about 2 minutes. How you feeling? You ready? I'm proud to be doing this with you.
Because of the capacity, we need to get a pretty big crowd. If you fill up, everyone has to be seated.
I got it. Okay. Hey, welcome everyone. If I could have you silence your cell phones, and I know because of the COVID protocols, if we're out of seats, people can't stand in the back, so I apologize for that. I appreciate you all coming out. I know it's been a great conference. My name is Ross Bryant. I'm retired Army, and I've been blessed to be the director of UNLV's Veterans Center since 2012. We're getting ready to have our 10th year. We're going to tell you a little bit of story about our Vet Center, our peer team, our Rebel Vets, and our community partners. I'm going to try to cram it all in. There's a lot of information on the slides because it's supposed to be standalone, that if you want to get a copy of our slides, if you're a student in a chapter, or if you're a chapter advisor or a staff member running a vet center, and someone said, go run a vet center, and you're like, holy crap, what does that mean? What do I got to do? I'm not an expert. We've just been building for 9 years to take care of vets. We're passionate about it. I tell people we're effing famous for taking care of vets, and then we have to earn that reputation. I have a lot of Rebel Vets in the crowd, a lot of Rebel Vet alumni, a couple Rebel Vet presidents that help us build this, friends from Michigan like Eric and others, and Stephen Ross from VCU and a couple others. So I'm honored to present, but we got a lot to unpack. And so hopefully I know how to work this gizmo because I'm a boomer, but I've been trained by my awesome Rebel Vet president, the 9th president at UNLV. All right, let's get started. This picture was us in LA in 2020, unbeknownst to us, the shitstorm that was coming our way. In fact, we had 2 people that were deathly sick at the conference, and we thought they had the flu, and I'm sure they probably had COVID, and none of us knew. And on the way home, we blew out a tire on I-15 but didn't kill anyone, and then all the vets fought over who was the best person to change the tire while I supervised. It was awesome. So if you break down in a rental car, just sit back and let all the vets fix the tire. So we had a great and glorious time. So like us, we're all tired of hearing about the pandemic. That's exactly what my life was like running the pandemic at UNLV. We went remote on March 17th, and it was just a train wreck for everybody. All right, when a vet comes to school, you guys already know this. I'm not even going to cover it. There's a lot of transition issues. Everyone has a different story. You name it. We work on it. You work on it. And none of us are experts. It's a case-by-case business. We have all sorts of programs like you all do, orientations, all that stuff. And before the pandemic, it was thriving. And then during the pandemic, we had to go to remote, and it totally sucked. And we weren't able to serve our constituents like we like to. Right before the pandemic, though, because, timing is everything, the VA, anybody here certify at your school? What a train wreck, right? Well, anyway, we certify 1,800 people, and the VA showed up 4 days before school started and decided to do a no-notice compliance inspection. And for 3 days, they went through our 1,800 files, selected 80 of them, and after 3 days, we got a no deficiencies noted, which is amazing. And thanks. And the team that is doing that right now is not here because they're doing it right now while we are all at Disney World. In fact, when we go back, we're not allowed to talk about Disney World. We're supposed to say how bad the conference sucked, it was terrible, because if you are joyous when you come back to certifying hell, there's hell to pay. One of the things I learned in 9 years. So the governor recognized our vet center in February as the Veteran Supporter of the Month and made a big deal about it, gave us some cool coins, and we all went to a very crowded buffet lunch downtown Vegas, unbeknownst to us that in 3 weeks we were all going to be under lockdown. Now, just to make things even more interesting, our building was built in 1989. It was really crappy, and so Home Depot looked us up on the internet, handed us $25,000 to refurbish our entire office, which cost me $11,000 to move all our crap out, to do the painting, which we did the painting, we did the carpet, we did everything, and then bring everything back. And then the pandemic hit, and instead of being a 6-week mission, it took us 4 months. In the middle of the pandemic, Dwayne's outside on a phone call, Home Depot drove up a truck and was going to deliver all of our furniture with nobody on campus but Dwayne and I, Air Force retired myself. And they said they weren't allowed to come into the building. They couldn't give us a jack. They were just going to leave everything on the sidewalk because of the pandemic. We're all going to die. So then we canceled the sentence and just keep your furniture. I'll take my old shit back, send it all back. They said we had to pay for sending it back, which we did not pay. And ultimately, they finally delivered our stuff 3 months later. So don't do a renovation a month before the pandemic. Take a note of that, okay? And yes, we painted everything. And by the way, the paint had to be approved by UNLV. We have shark gray molding and dolphin gray walls because we're scarlet and gray. I didn't even know those were colors, but hey, you learn something every day. So we had paper files like everyone. We ran like a division of motor vehicles where vets had to redo their driver's license every semester, and we had paper files like 1957. It was awesome. And then they said, everyone go home. And we said, holy shit, what are we going to do? So my team is very talented. Melissa Barber, if you've ever met her, she's been with us for 6 years. She's amazing. She came up with a paperless system where we scan documents to Google Drives, and we never missed a beat. We never missed a payment. And while we were literally, the plane is in the air on paperless, we built the plane in the air, a paperless system with PeopleSoft that now is the model of Nevada and model of our school, and now everything is in our PeopleSoft system. And we were able to do over 5,000 certifications, and with SEOs remote, we were doing 30 to 45 files a day, not 10 a day, when we were crowded in the office. And we processed over $9 million worth of payments during the pandemic and never missed a beat. We still lost 300 vets who dropped out of school because remote learning for physics and math and science sucked, and UNLV sucked at being remote. If there's a UNLV person, don't tell the chancellor. But we were terrible. And so we lost 300 vets to that, but we didn't lose any vets because they didn't get paid. They got their housing, and the legislative team helped with the remote housing, and so it was touch and go for quite a while. And I'd like to tell you, I run 2 departments in international office. I had 27 employees. They all had different stories. Somebody had 80-year-old grandmother living at home, little kids, and homeschooling, and everything that everyone else dealt with, so we're not going to talk about that. But we had to have individual kind of contracts with everyone and schedules to try to make it all work. Now, in the middle of all that, we were already thinking about building for the future. And we already have Vet Success on campus, and Big VA decided in the past you could not have VA Vital, which is healthcare. Does anyone have VA Vital on campus? Okay. So VA Vital is all about healthcare and services and mental health and all that stuff. We were never allowed to have that on campus because we had Vet Success, which is all about your benefits and academics and coaching. So we've had Vet Success since 2014. But they came back to us and said, we're going to put a Vital office on UNLV, and you're going to serve the community college and your vets. It took us 8 months to get the MOU done during the pandemic. But now, check this out. This is our vets and family members. We have about 1,800 vets. We have about 500 vets or family members on Chapter 35 now who have a parent who's 100% disabled, the cost of the war. We have over 400 women vets on campus, proud of that. We have National Guard, reservists, and active duty from Nellis. And in that, we have this partnership. This is Melissa running the DMV and getting everyone paid, and I have 12 students. Allie Schrader, raise your hand. She has helped certifying. We stole her for the conference just to pay her back for all of her hard work. So while that's going on, we also have a peer mentoring team from Michigan. We're one of 38 partners, a founding member, and a contract with social work, so that social work students who are in their practicum get paid their VA work study to help us in PAVE. And so if Melissa finds a student who dropped out of everything or failed everything, then the PAVE team finds out about it, and we connect with that vet and find out what's going on. So we'd have that. We've had vet success, where we literally have a VA person on campus that you can't get your COE because it's with the Pony Express, and they lost your apartment, and there's someone on horseback trying to find you. You can literally go next door and actually talk to a VA person. That alone has every vet amazed. I called, and someone picked up the phone, and I talked to a human, and then he could print out your COE, and we certify you that day. It's magical. That alone makes every vet want to stay at UNLV right there. He's been doing that since 2014. We have the Rebel vets you're going to hear about. Jen is our 9th president. Bruno and Randy are former presidents, and Andrew, Veteran of the Year last year. So we have VIPs in the audience. Vital came on board, and they're now housed with the College of Social Work. And another benefit, the Vital program is mentoring social work students that want to get into the VA. So he helps them with that crazy journey to get into the VA. And then we try not to coach them that people at the VA sometimes don't like working at the VA. We just say, it's great. How can we help you get in? That's a little joke, sorry. And then we have the Rebel vets. That all resulted in us being number 7 for our size school and being ranked 27. I'm proud of those. And those are all great, those surveys. But as you all know, it's the face-to-face and the services and taking care of people that really matters. But the numbers matter when I go fight for dollars with the school. And we just have a new president during the pandemic. I appreciate his courage. His name is President Keith Whitfield. He's our first African-American president. We're one of the most diverse schools in the nation, if not the most diverse. But the best part is, he is a military family member. His father was in the Air Force during Vietnam, and he has just upped our game. When Afghanistan collapsed, without any prodding from us, he put out a letter to the entire campus about the impact of the loss of Afghanistan to our veterans that had over 150 years serving in Afghanistan. We've never had that before. We had great presidents that were supportive, but as a military family member, I mean, he's on top of it. He's helping us get a center. We'll talk about that moving forward. So everyone has a 2-step certification now. So for 1,500 certs, we now have 3,000 certs, and I don't have enough staff. The president got us 1 new staff and allowed us to hire someone who's a former SCO of mine remote in Texas. That would never have happened before the remote. So now, before the pandemic, she is now remote, knocking out certs probably every day for me, and she's awesome, and she's an Air Force vet, and that upped our game to help us with our volume. In the middle of all that, they allowed all of my SCOs, when we came back, everyone had to come back to school, there was no more remote work. He allowed my SCOs to be remote for 8 weeks every semester to get the tidal wave done, while the rest of my PAVE team, my student workers, and everyone else handle all the customer service, all the peer mentoring. The SCOs are remote except for 1 day a week for questions. So now we have 5 SCOs to do the volume, and we're doing 35 to 50 certs a day. Now this is the volume. This shows you that when we were allowed to work remote last semester to do those 3,000 certs, in September alone, we got 874 certs done. If you're in the SCO business, that's huge. We were getting about 200 and some odd certs a week done, so we could wrap everything up. So I'm proud of that innovation that would never have happened because of the pandemic. Now, you got to have private money if you're running a vet center. The Eleanor Cagey Foundation, Eleanor Cagey stood up Circus Circus in 1965. Have you ever been to Vegas? She was the only female owner of a casino in the 60s. Think of that. When she passed away, she's a huge UNLV fan. They have given us probably $100,000 a year for funding of an LOA for me to hire an SCO on a contract on an annual basis, and also funded all of our programming for swag and everything for the Rebel vets. So we do a report to them. They help fund all of our programming. It's just amazing. But the main thing they did is get me staffing when the school in Enchi, my regents, couldn't get me staffing. In addition, because we were starting to become famous a couple of years ago when Bruno was our president, a couple came into the office. They were in their 50s. They're in tourist clothes. And they heard about our vet center in the news. And they were talking to me, and they said, we'd like to donate some money to the foundation for the vets. And I was thinking, you know, shirts, pins. So I gave them a pitch, and gave them a menu of items. And they said, nope, we're going to write you a check today for $150,000. $50,000 for programming. And we heard that when you went on vacation to Hawaii, you took a work day in Hawaii so you could go to all the bases on Oahu and tell everyone to come to UNLV. I'm like, yeah, we did do that. So they funded my student worker staff, and let me explain that. So for 5 years, we get $20,000 to fund student workers. Now, if you're a student worker for us, you get your VA work study with your benefit. For us, it's $9.75 an hour, 20 hours a week. For those same 20 hours, Allie, raise your hand. If you are Allie and you're a student worker lead, and who's our PAVE leads in the house here? PAVE leads, Andy, you're a PAVE lead. Andrew, you were a PAVE lead. Bruno, you were a PAVE lead. Then you get a $500 to $700 stipend on top of your VA work study for the same amount of hours. So now you bring home about $1,000 or $1,100 for the same 20 hours, but I'm tapping into your leadership, your coaching, and your prepping files so my SEOs don't have to prep anything. They don't do any customer service. They just certify. So they're the ones that helped us do that. Now, where did they get their money? Has anyone ever seen a Coinstar machine? They're the Coinstar family. They get like 0.001 of every nickel you put into a machine across the country. So I guess it was easy for them to write a $150K check. So we're hoping to see them again next year to up our game. And the foundation did that for us. So this is our staff. I don't want to kill you with staff, but if I didn't have help, so this is me running 2 departments. I have Dwayne in the back. Dwayne back, or he's on a call. Dwayne runs the PAVE program, retired Air Force. We have Justin with Vet Success. Melissa is my Rockstar certifying director, and she has certifying director who's also in charge of our website, and Julie, who built the paperless system, handles all my 31s in our budget, and I have Sharon for our admin. Down here, Eleanor and Cagey funded 2 LOAs for me. Erica is now full-time, paid for by the school in Texas. Clayton just got a job as an SEO at another school, and we'll fill this LOA. But all these student workers are VA work study. They get stipends. The PAVE leads all get stipends, and most of them are on practicum, doing their learning objectives with the College of Social Work with a field rep, so they get paid for a practicum, and they help me with all the vets. It's a great partnership, and you got to have that partnership with the Social Work College. We're not clinicians, but they provided us a clinician to do it. And then Didi Valero helped us with the funding to help with student workers. So Vet Success, if you have Vet Success, they could do your COE, they could coach you, they can fund you. We also, a couple of years ago with National SVA, we had a lot of folks with TBI and traumatic brain injury, and they were on VOC Rehab VRE. But what was happening is if you weren't a full-time student, you could not get your full housing. But they could not mentally handle it with their injury. So they were dropping out of school or taking half classes, but if you get below 6 credit hours, you get no housing. So then they're going to work to make money to provide for their family to go half-time because of their brain injury. And with SVA's help, we didn't have to pass a law, but we got the VA to add to their regulation that if you're a VRE counselor and your veteran has a TBI, you can grant them full housing while there's 6 credit hours. You need to ask about that. A lot of VRE counselors don't know they can do that. But that's the difference between someone having another defeat and not finishing school and maybe having worse issues, defeat, suicide, but having a victory where within my capability I'm full-time with full housing at no detriment. So you need to be aware of that. So VRE and Vet Success, they all helped with that. Let me go back to that. So Also, with Vet Success, I have 13 different VRE counselors, all remote, all over Vegas, and not picking up the phone. Anytime one of my vets can't get a hold of a VRE, Justin steps in, signs off on everything, fixes everything, and then tells the counselor it's already fixed, pick up the phone next time. Gotta love it, because then they get real service. VA Vital, we're just starting this. We've had 6 suicides, 4 combat vets and 2 family members, very tragic. One we knew personally. We went to an event on a Friday when Bruno and Jeff were presidents, and our vice president, her sister, came back from the party, went to a party the next day, drank too much, committed suicide, and left her 3-year-old in the apartment. Horrific. We were all there trying to comfort the Army vet, and she went on to finish school because she couldn't quit school because she's living off her housing. So she had to bury her sister and then continue school. And the rebel vets were crucial, and so was PAVE in taking care of her. So again, it's taking care of each other. So the VA Vital program helps us with the governor's suicide prevention on campus. We do suicide prevention training. We get in everyone's business. So during the pandemic, we were concerned about isolated vets. And UNLV told us, you're not allowed to have events. You're not allowed to go outside. You got to put on gloves to pump gas. You got to wipe down all your stuff. You're all going to die. It was just pandemonium and craziness. And Andrew, raise your hand. Andrew was a brand new president in the office for like 2 months, and we're like, shit, what are we going to do? So we started having routine Sunday hikes. We just told everyone to show up. You're not with our group. We're not in a group. We're not on social media. We're just going to be 30, 40 individuals walking the same direction 6 feet apart with a mask on. And if you want to talk, you can, and we just happen to run into you. And we did that sometimes with a huge crowd. Sometimes we had 3 of us. Sometimes we just had rebel vets and me. And that made a difference, though. We got people out of the house and connected, and we were just more concerned about the effects of being isolated. And we also did things like help the food pantry. You're going to hear about that from our president. So during that time, the Vital program now is part of social work, handling both campuses, and we're handling the community college. I bring this up because the contract is with us. But when my Vital guy said, I want to help CSN, I'm like, let's do it. And then UNLV said, well, you know what? We don't have a contract with CSN. I don't give a shit about any of that. Because if you're at CSN and you don't do well, you're not going to come to UNLV. And more importantly, you're a vet that needs help. So he goes over there quietly 2 days a week and 2 days a week with us, and he's on the call anytime. So always help each other out and help your other schools out whenever you can. And don't tell UNLV I told you that part. And the PAVE team, I think Dwayne is out. So let me talk about our PAVE partnership. I met Eric in Michigan and the PAVE team in 2014 at a NatCon social at a cocktail party. I met Jane, who was the director of PAVE back then, and we joined right away. The PAVE program is amazing. It is run by Michigan. If you can get part of it, now you have to do like a fee to get into it. We've been able to secure scholarships for it. But what it does is there's a dashboard, there's training on how to be a mentor, and then all of my, who's all on PAVE or been on PAVE, raise your hand. They go through training, they enter everybody into a dashboard, and then you get that data from the University of Michigan about what are the issues facing your vets. And then that data helps you put in for grants and funding with the foundation on what you're trying to help with your vets. It's so much more than just getting them paid. And so if Allie and her team finds a vet that's in struggle, the PAVE team finds out about it, we get in your business, and we help you out. I can't say that we stopped any suicides, except for one I know of. We had an Air Force vet where things were not going well, broke up with a relationship, lost his job, couldn't make his car payment. His family told him to get his shit together, and he was isolated. And Jeff at that time and I, our president, we took him out for coffee, and he was a hot mess, and then we entered him into the ER sort of against his will. They did a legal 2000 on him and got him straight and helped him out, and he was pissed at us and never talked to us again. But now he works in LA and he has a job and he's still here. So you just got to get in people's business. You got to bother people. Just ask them out front, hey man, are you thinking of killing yourself? And they'll tell you. And then you got to take action. And then, so we train folks every time. We make every PAVE member take the suicide prevention from the grant with the governor. And so I got to tell you, that's the #1 job on campus is finding out how people are doing. An example, we had a combat vet, retired Army, Sergeant Major. He was a straight A student doing great. All of a sudden he dropped out of 6 classes just out of the blue. No call, no nothing, just dropped everything after drop ad. We called him up. A hurricane was hitting Houston, and his mom lives by herself. She's 87 years old, has a little bit of dementia. He just dropped everything and went to Houston to get her out of the flood and take care of her and do all the right things. Had no idea that that would cost him $1 bazillion, and we were able to get all that taken care of and all the VA stuff taken care of. But again, if we hadn't seen all those drops and then contacted PAVE, we would not have known what was going on for him. So it's a key partnership. I'd like to highlight Bruno. So we had a vet, I won't say the vet's name out of FERPA, but we had a combat Marine who had a TBI that we met at the VA hospital at a group therapy session. And he looked like he came off the movie Castaways with Tom Hanks. He had the scraggly hair, the beard, and he was homeless. And come to find out, he had other than honorable discharge, but he had 4 years of honorable service. So he didn't know that he had benefits. But he was living homeless. He had lost his marriage and everything. And Bruno was his PAVE mentor as a combat Marine. And together, working with HUD-VASH and the VA, we got him an apartment near the school. We got him into UNLV as an alternate admit. We got him into the film school. We got him tutoring for math because he couldn't retain math to do math problems. We helped him with his English course and writing papers. And that guy graduated with a 3.89 in the film school. And he got cleaned up. He got his degree. He was a guest speaker at graduation. He went back to St. Louis and had a relationship with his folks. And that was because of hours that Bruno spent taking care of that guy. Now, I will tell you, it doesn't end there. He went to St. Louis and then had none of that support. And because he was a Marine, I love Marines, he said all this was BS and I'm fine and I'm healed because look at my degree on the wall. And I said, well, it's not like the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz that we gave you a piece of paper and you're fine, not making light of it. But when he got to St. Louis, he didn't check in and find resources that he needed, and he had some struggles. And I think he's doing okay now, but he had a period where he slipped back into that challenge of his TBI because he thought he was healed because he hung out with us. And he wasn't totally healed because I don't think there's no magic yoga for the TBI until they figure it out. So just be aware of that, because that's very saddening for you when you help somebody be successful. If there's going to be some challenges, you just got to be prepared. So now, because of what we've been building over the years, everyone on campus now is veteran inclusive, and so they do a concert on campus that if we were in the band, I don't play an instrument, I don't know what I'm doing, but if you're in the band, your final exam is the president's concert. You have to do a concert for the public, and if you suck, I guess you fail. They don't suck, they're awesome. But what they started doing, this is our 4th concert this year, is they started honoring World War II vets in their 90s. And what they do is the French consulate, if you fought in Europe, they would give you your French Legion of Honor, which is that medal right there. And we would make them honorary rebel vets. They would be escorted by Iraq, Afghanistan vets, like this gentleman right here. This is just a couple months ago. This is Dean Whitaker, who fought after D-Day +10. This is our president meeting him. And he literally was in assisted living, and we had to pick him up and bring him to the show. Frank, raise your hand. Frank was the driver. And that guy just had a joyous evening. Our president, everybody was all dressed up. He took photos with us, and he had the time of his life. He was a real rock star. But that concert is now part of the fabric of the university. Every year, next year, they're going to honor Korean War vets and Vietnam vet organizations, and it's a chance for the whole community. And the $10 tickets goes into a scholarship for the Rebel vets. And all we do is have a speaking part. The Rebel vet president, myself, have a small part, color guard. They do a Medal of Honor reading, but the orchestra plays. They have a conductor from the Marine Corps President's Own, and then the proceeds go to a scholarship. So I got to tell you, we don't do anything with that, but it's so rewarding for these vets that we get to meet. That guy told us he didn't do anything in D-Day. He landed at D-Day +10 as a brand new lieutenant, and they told him they were winning, but he saw all the casualties on the beach, and then they drove towards the city of Nancy, headed to Germany. They got in an awesome firefight where everyone was wiped out but him, and he was wounded, and he was hidden in a basement, and then he went to England, and he said, I never fired my weapon, and then I healed in England, and the war was over, and everyone calls me a hero, and I didn't do anything. I'm like, well, I think you did okay. And I felt like my 25 years, I didn't do anything. I almost had to re-enlist. And then this is our, in the lobby before we took him back, he was so thrilled to hang out, and I got to call out Jen. She's dressed here, and she said, "You know, soldier, you look great in that uniform." We're like, "Jen, don't give the guy a heart attack." But it was a great evening. Sorry, Jen. We also have a veteran alumni, and Bruno and Jeff were the first presidents of our alumni. We were the first affinity group not related to a college. It took us 4 years to get the school to actually do this, and now they have other affinity groups. And that's allowed us to have an alumni, and we're standing up a mentoring program for graduates, and that's thriving. And at the Engage breakfast we just had with our president, we have a breakfast with all the famous vets in our community who get to see what we're doing for the veteran community, and it's a networking opportunity for Rebel vets to get connected with jobs. At one of those breakfasts, there was a guy in his 80s, his name's Joe Brown, and he has a name tag that says U.S. Marines, Vietnam, and he's sitting at a table at 10 with all these young vets, and all these young vets are like, "Damn, who's that old dude?" Well, that old dude used to be a regent. He was a lawyer after Vietnam, and he was the lawyer for Caesars when they built Caesars, and he was the project manager downtown that built the Fremont Street experience in the 80s. Have you ever been downtown with the Music Dome? He built that, and then he ran for office, and he was a state senator, and he has a street named after him, Joe Brown Avenue, and he was like the director of Wells Fargo for all the banks west of the Mississippi, but other than that, he's just the old dude at the table. So we're hoping that all our vets become the old dude at the table one day. And those are the distinguished gentlemen right there, hanging out. Jeff, Bruno used to be my bodyguards, and then Manfredi is the president there. We are known for our Rebel Vet graduation party. We cut the cake with a saber, we play the branch songs, we hand out hotel stays and dinners and coins and letters from the governor, and we just throw down and have a great party. We had our first party after the pandemic just recently. And so Melissa, her birthday's on December 10th, so I always send her a message because she never wants to hear about her birthday. And our party was on her birthday, and she told me that she would kill me if we sang, so I had her come up and cut the cake for her birthday, and everyone sang anyway. And at that event, we had our change of command, and you can't see this, but Jen, our new 9th president, is wearing a Do Epic Shit hat, and she took over the guidon, so she's here today, and these are our staff and our graduates. We developed stoles that have Rebel Vet leadership. All of our vets get a cord and coin, and we've redid our coins with the VFW post that paid for them, so we have Rebel Vet graduation coins. We also have, we're known as Do Epic Shit. In 2017, I was Chapter Advisor of the Year in Disneyland. First time they did the award, and Jared asked me to say a speech, and I didn't have a speech. I just told everyone to go out and do epic shit, and that became our moniker now. So we have Do Epic Shit hats. If you get a scholarship, you come take a photo. I couldn't make Do Epic Shit coins, so I have Epic Veteran Victory coins, but we all know what it really means. And we just have a great party and a celebration, and it's a lot of fun. Now, let's talk about the Rebel Vets funding. When we first stood up the Rebel Vets, we're doing pizza parties and car washes, and we don't make any money, we don't have crap, and we can't send anyone to NatCon, and we can't do anything. But then we found out that CSUN has a lot of money, student government. If you look at your school, and you're at a private school, CSUN probably gets $100, $150 per student every year. And we have 30,000 students, that's a lot of money. CSUN senators then that get elected, they do projects for food insecure students, single moms with child care, they do all sorts of stuff. So we gave a pitch about our programming, and every year for the last 6 years, they give us $10,000. And then these folks, raise your hand if you're a Rebel Vet at NatCon. These guys all get to write a report about this weekend that goes into an annual report that goes to CSUN in the summer, and then we ask for more funding, and we talk about our suicide prevention stuff and our peer stuff and the importance of community, and that their money makes a difference, and it had great benefits because our SVA chapter maintained all through the pandemic because of the support. And that way we get our funding every year. So you got to have a cycle and effort, and you got to present, and you got to do those kinds of things, and the Rebel Vets have done that. They also help with our suicide prevention. And then I got to tell you about Popeye, and we okay on time? So Popeye, I don't know who Popeye is, but you know anybody in the Air Force? Everybody in the Air Force gets a nickname. I'm not sure how you get your nickname, but this guy's name was Popeye, which I thought was a Navy thing. But for whatever reason, he was in the Air Force in Vietnam enlisted, and his name is Popeye. He then went to school with his GI Bill and became an architect and built all the casinos in Vegas in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And he was a single guy, a bit of a party guy. He owns a giant mansion because he's retired now in his 80s. He has no family. I never met him, and now he's getting ready to pass. Had quite the rock star life and a great guy. He called up the foundation and said, I heard about your vet center and I want to donate to the rebel vets. So the foundation went to see him during the pandemic, and he said, I'd like to give you $200,000 for the rebel vets for a future scholarship. They said, great, we'll do this, we'll do that, here's how it works. He said, great, I'll go get the money. He went upstairs and he brought back a suitcase full of cash. Like, man, he used to work for the mob, I think. And then they all went to the bank, and then at the bank Homeland Security rules are like, you must be a drug dealer or a very popular stripper. I don't know. Where'd you get all this money, right? We're in Vegas, I'm sorry. So they counted all the money. It was short $417, so he made the difference. They deposited that, and now every year I get the annuity from that. And for the first year, because the first year I got $6,000. So now, if you are elected to be a rebel vet, one of the 6 elected positions, you got a $900 scholarship for the year. And every fall, the leadership that gets elected is going to get funding because they're stepping up to do extra stuff on top of working and school and all that stuff. And so we have more people that are willing to help out, not because $900 is huge, but at least it's a little bit of money for your time. So I'm sure you can do that with your foundation if you have a donor that can help you out. And now that'll go on forever, so hopefully SVA will go on forever with us. Now, you got to connect with your VFW. I'm a VFW member. Andrew is a VFW member. Catherine's here. She works in Washington, D.C. She was a rebel vet and a VFW member. This VFW post run by mainly this guy here, Bill Pierce. He's now a vice commander for the state. He helped us with funding for the coins. He has paid for lifetime membership of every elected rebel vet president that was eligible. We've had a lot more younger vets join the VFW because of it. They don't have time to go to anything. I go to every meeting. One of the rebel vets goes to every meeting. We link up with them. We go to the breakfast with them. But they have funded research projects. They give us $2,000 in an emergency fund through the Involvement Center so that I can write a check for someone who needs to get groceries or someone who can't make their rent, and then they pay us back so we can help more people. So we probably help $6,000 worth of people out of a $2,000 account every September. Now, this VFW post, what they've done is long before the pandemic in 2008, they bought a bunch of failing posts, closed them out legally, consolidated them, and then they bought a condo, and the condo is owned by the post, and the rent from the condo generates about $12,000 a year, and they make sure that $12,000 a year goes to veteran causes, including us, every year. So they're not a VFW selling poppies for $1. They do that. They sell hats. They do all those things like a regular VFW. But the generated income from that condo is what they do to support us and others. And they're growing a great younger generation of VFW. And a lot of younger folks don't want to go hang out with the old guys with the hat pins. I love it because I'm 60 and I'm the youngest guy there. You know what I mean? And they can all talk about their surgeries and their meds, and I just nod my head and have breakfast, and it's a lot of fun. So there's some younger ones too. So, and that's our post, and they paid for our coins, and they've done all sorts of stuff. We did a walk across Nevada that we're planning to do next year, and all that stuff. And also the VFW Sport Clips, last year we had $28,000 come to UNLV. Again, we get in everyone's business and say if you're E5 and below, put in for Sport Clips, and almost everyone who did got funded. So that's big money. It's about $7,000 for the year. Now, recruiting. So we hire student workers like I showed you. We give them stipends. We also recruit for rebel vets. We cultivate leadership. We bring people to NatCon. You have to be elected, outgoing or incoming, to come to NatCon. We make sure rebel vet leaders doing things in the community are recognized by the governor. We have a newsletter that is going to go out at orientation. We do all those things to constantly cultivate the next generation of leaders. So if you're at a school that has a rock star president that leaves, normally what happens, the chapter falls apart. And we have not been that because we have cultivated people that we don't make them do anything. They start to drink the Kool-Aid and they're like, you know what, so-and-so's leaving, I'd like to run for election, and we have an election. And we've done that throughout the whole time, and I'm proud of everyone who stepped up because it's a lot of work. And a sense of service. Everything we do is a sense of service. Now, navigating turnover is mentoring leaders, keeping the team focused. People will come to us with great ideas. Let's do this, let's do that, there's all sorts of great ideas, and we try to say, let's focus on vets at school, not veteran homeless, not veterans in the community, not everything with health care. We're just a student group. Let's focus on what we can do reasonably while everyone's a full-time student. Because otherwise, you could take on so much stuff, it's too hard to do. And you just got to sort of say, what can we do successfully? And what can we tap in like the concert, where we don't have to run the concert, advertise the concert, or anything. We're part of the concert. What can we do to tap in? And so that's what we try to do. Now, I say that, but at NatCon in San Antonio, they came to me and said, Ross, we're going to walk across Nevada. I see Philippe in the back. Philippe runs Truckee Meadows Community College up north, and we had this hair-raising great idea that we're going to walk 370 miles with 7,000 dog tags of the fallen and 58 Nevadans, and we did that 2 years in a row, and we're planning to do that again. So if you want to know what that is, we don't have a slide of that, but if you go to our website, unlv.edu/veterans, you'll see the video about OBB. So we're going to do that again this upcoming May if everything calms down. Budgets, meetings, advice, fundraising that is routine, reports, all that stuff is built in. So we then tap into SVA national programs. We help people with funding and help them get to Seattle to symposiums when they were face-to-face. And not everyone that went joined us, but way back then there was a young guy named Andrew Ho who just joined us. He was not elected to anything, and he decided to go to Seattle and have a cup of coffee and hang out. And Ray Sean Williams, who now is here, and he works at CAEO and was part of us. All those folks went to Seattle and had a good time and learned leadership stuff for the chapter. And then Bruno's in the house. And Derek's no longer with, he's graduated, and Alex was our Veteran of the Year. They were all sent to D.C., and we had 4 members, and Sean, who was at U of A, that were part of the 100 in Washington. And we've had Rebel vets at that every year. And when Jared said that's coming again, we're going to be all over it. We're going to be encouraging people to go, subsidizing them, and having them go hang out with the top leaders. And I tell everybody, because I'm the old guy, if you go to that, take that picture and look them up years from now, they're going to be leaders and CEOs and all that kind of stuff of the future that you met at NatCon when you were just a student hanging out. I believe it. And hopefully they'll visit me in the old folks' home and bring me a beer. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but Bruno, raise your hand. When Bruno joined us, he said, sir, we got to do more. We got to help out with legislation. I'm like, what do you mean? So he was instrumental in leading and writing legislation. He personally wrote legislation for Carson City that helped all the vets who came to any NC school get their military credits assessed properly, and then if you had to do an appeal, the next guy after you didn't have to do the same appeal. And that system is now called, I can't remember the name of the term, but it's a program that all the schools had to buy, and now that helps with everyone's certification and accreditation. And that was because Bruno got that bill passed. And so we would pay for everyone to go to Washington, D.C. and Carson City. Here we all got the Fry Scholarship, so if you were killed in action and your kids got full GI Bill benefits, many states like us still charge you out-of-state tuition because nothing says, thanks for your dad or mom being killed, you owe 14 grand. Ridiculous. So we got a bill passed with the governor, and he signed it into legislation unanimously, and everyone got a framed, signed bill that was approved by the governor, and we did that. We were a part of all the North and South meetings. And then we send people to Washington, D.C. to meet the delegation, the VFW post where Catherine hangs out. And we go to D.C. and we just get in everyone's business and tell them to vote for our stuff. And that also helped with the remote stuff and the housing stuff. We have Rebel vets that are on staff with our senators in Washington, D.C. who call us and say, hey, Ross, the bill's going to expire on December 22nd, and all your people are going to get crapped on who are stuck remote. And Allie, raise your hand. I asked Allie if she could get on a phone call. She said, sure, Ross. Turned out she was on a phone call with all the senators for a committee meeting. No pressure. And then they did an article in Military Times about her and her family. And then all that stuff got done, not just by us. Everybody was raising hell. But we had our piece of the pie to raise hell with our delegation that we expect them to do the right thing. So, Allie, thanks for being on that call. And we're almost done on my part. And now, not to embarrass Jen, she gave me 3 bullets about her bio, but I added all this. So when she joined us, she's all this, first-generation student, 8 years in the Marine Corps, awesome, Navy reservist, all this kind of stuff. Then she joined and told me, you know, I'm a little bit busy, but I'll be a PAO, so she did that. Then she was the vet vice president. Then she was hired to work at our peer team, and then she was a mentor and a lead. And then she went to NatCon in Los Angeles right before the pandemic. Then she went to the virtual one. She was on the team that helped us with all that stuff. And then she went to all the symposiums online. And then she was just elected in December. Round of applause for Jen. All right, Jen, all you.
Thank you, Ross. All right, well, that's me. Before I kind of go into the Rebel Vets pandemic support, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about me. I am a living example of how UNLV's integrated veteran support model, I did that by myself, Ross, really works to support student veterans. Because I spent 9 years in the Marine Corps as a public affairs specialist and media specialist. I had a plan, I did the homework, and at the very last minute, my plan fell apart, and I ended up coming to Las Vegas. Las Vegas was not my plan A. When I got there, I didn't know anybody. I stayed with a sister who I didn't grow up with, but we were starting to get pretty close. And I didn't know how to articulate my skills. My public affairs skills, yes, but not my military skills to potential employers. So I couldn't find a stable job that allowed me to reach that 3 times of the rent requirement to stay in an apartment of my own in Las Vegas. So I was sleeping on couches, maybe a night or 2. I slept in my car, and I was embarrassed. And like many veterans getting out and have spent so long in the military and are a little prideful, I withdrew and I didn't ask for help. I felt disconnected from the students around me. I felt disconnected from the groups in campus, and I didn't feel like I fit in. While I was taught how to be confident in the Marine Corps, and I was taught how to be able to give briefs and do my job confidently, socially I was still a little bit shy. So it was really hard to connect. That changed because of the PAVE program and because of the Rebel Vets who reached out to me. The PAVE advisors at the new student orientation connect with their students. They already get assigned their students, and they get assigned to their students in groups and Breakout, and they meet their peer advisor for the first time at the Rebel Vets orientation, student veteran orientation. So I met my peer advisor, Josh, and I thought it was cool that he was another Marine in journalism, but I didn't really think much after that. He periodically reached out to me. I responded, no, I'm doing all right. While I was struggling, because my struggle was a little bit less visible than other veterans who dropped out of classes, because if nothing else, I was going to keep my grades up. So it was a little bit harder to see my struggle. Josh kept reaching out to me. I met Andrew eventually, who convinced me to go to a Rebel Vets meeting. And at that very first meeting, they said they were looking for a public affairs officer, and Andrew turns right around and says, she needs to be the public affairs officer. So here I am. And I wouldn't have done it on my own. I didn't reach out on my own. It took some prodding. It took just people hanging out and checking in with me. Eventually, I got a job myself as a peer mentor for the PAVE program. And now I do the same thing for other students coming in whose struggle might not be as visible as those who are dropping out of classes or have more apparent struggles, or like more visibly apparent struggles. So the model works. Maybe not for everybody, but it definitely works for a lot of students. So when I became the official elected public affairs officer for 2020, the pandemic hit 2 months later, and we had to turn to our more technically savvy team members and do what we do best as veterans and adapt and be flexible and basically change the way we did everything. So we went from monthly in-person meetings to bi-weekly virtual hangouts because one of our priorities was make sure people just keep talking to each other, keep connected to each other. We conducted a Valentine's drive because we found out that the Veterans Home in Nevada, in Southern Nevada, was not allowing visitors, was not allowing any outside people to come in and talk to those veterans. So they were very isolated and they felt alone. So what we did is we collected a bunch of cards and sent them out to different students who requested a pack of cards with couriers. When they finished writing up those cards, we sent couriers back out to get them, and then we collected them all and brought them to the Veterans Home. And they gave us a letter saying how much they appreciated that and how much it really meant to those veterans who were isolated because of the pandemic. We did the same thing with the School of Medicine for frontline medical workers. We created a little care package for them. We did the thank you card portion to let them know that we support them. We started a Success Talk series geared towards professional development and mental health and personal wellness. And what we found is it's a little easier to convince a speaker to come and talk to us when they don't have to travel miles and miles and miles to get to us. So that's kind of something we ended up integrating. This is now a continuous thing that we're doing. We try to ask people from all over the United States to come and talk to our veterans. Now we do a hybrid portion where some speakers, if they're available, they come in and talk, but we still have that dial-in option so that we can accommodate for those members who are maybe not very comfortable right now to come in and meet with us, or they're just not available to actually drive down to the campus. We reignited the Women's Committee, and we expanded it to welcome dependents and spouses and just strong role models in the Las Vegas area. And we did that. We changed it from Rebel Women Vets to the Women's Committee at Rebel Vets so that it's more welcoming to non-veteran members of our organization. We also did a monthly digital newsletter, a monthly update, and it's just happenings that Rebel Vets are still doing, letting the groups know that we're still active, we're still here, resource links and pictures of we ask veterans to send in selfies of themselves doing whatever they do at the pandemic. If they're just kind of sitting at their Zoom in their pajamas, that's totally fine. Something to get people talking and just let them know that we're still here and we're still active. And we also did a group chat server for our veterans. We use Discord. You can use Slack. You can use Teams if that's what you want to do. We just found Discord's a little easier because it's free, and free is good for us. So these are some of the examples of, I should use the clicker. Sorry, guys. So these are some of the examples of the events that we have done in the past. Like I said, we started out with virtual using Zoom, and then now we are doing a hybrid method, so those veterans who can't make it or don't feel comfortable can still participate. And we have community service outreach, so this is Share Village, and actually this is the Cost No Supply Drive that Bianca helped set up, and it's basically basic need items that we pass out to the community members. This is a picture of the Valentine's drive that we did. I think we got like close to 500 Valentines. So each veteran at the home got multiple Valentines, so they felt very loved. And here is an example of our first professional development series. Most of these are local Las Vegas business owners, and then of course you see we have SVA's very own Calvin right there. And then here are the hikes that Ross mentioned. Sometimes we had a big group, sometimes we had a small group. So what I wanted to show you guys was I wanted to give you guys a framework for different options, considering how flexible we've had to remain during these last couple of years, because sometimes we're in person, sometimes everything drops and we have to step back. So just know that these frameworks are just suggestions. You can add, just think outside the box. If you think you can make it happen, try it out. It's definitely a good opportunity to make mistakes, or it could totally work out. So here's a virtual heavy framework. We had our general meetings. Every other week, we had our virtual hangouts where we just left the Zoom open for a little while. People came in, they talked, they left. People had homework questions, and we just kind of just hung out for a couple of hours and let them talk. We had our virtual involvement fair. We had a social media campaign. We developed messaging and values that we would kind of periodically post on the Facebook, where it was, we served, we connect, we honor, were like our top 3 values, and just talk about how, Rebel vets honor veterans of previous generations, how we serve our community and we serve each other, how we connect with each other and we support each other through our academic careers. And we have our Share Village community service. We have a virtual open house similar to the virtual hangout, where we invite the PAVE team over and we let students come in and ask questions and connect with their peer advisors. One of the things that I'm really proud of is our virtual escape room. We got the gamers' help on this one. So we opened up a Zoom room and we went onto Steam, which is it's a platform similar to Xbox or similar to PlayStation that you can download games on the computer and you can play them. And we found a free escape room game. We loaded it up. We invited people to come to the virtual escape room, and basically the concept was help a Rebel vet escape. And our Rebel vets got really into it. They were dressed up, got a little background on their Zoom, help me escape, help me. And basically all the members had to work together to get this person out of the escape room. And it actually worked out pretty well, so we decided to keep that for a little bit. So the lesson we learned there is utilize what people are good at and utilize what people are passionate about, because they're going to get you your out-of-the-box ideas. Here we have a hybrid schedule framework, which we started out last fall, and then it kind of dipped back a little bit. We have our general meetings, which remained virtual for that entire time, and then we had physical in-person events. So here's our anticipated schedule for this upcoming spring. We have the student veteran orientation. It's going to be we had some virtual ones. We're going to have an in-person one in the future for the first time where all the students will meet their PAVE advisors. And then we'll have the involvement fair in an outdoor, socially distanced environment on the campus. We'll have our spring mixer where we'll have games like person bingo. We have Jenga where we write little truth or dares on it, and then people pick out the Jenga and they can do whatever is on that little Jenga slide. And then we're going to try to continue our Valentine's drive for veterans, even though they might not be as isolated anymore. And then we have our Success Talk series. We are focusing on career fields this time, so we have a senior social worker who is going to come in and talk to our students. We found a lot of students at our school, a lot of student veterans at our school have social work or psychology backgrounds, so we're trying to set them up for success. Well, we have maybe a real estate crash course for people who are interested in that, and yeah, so that's kind of our framework. I'll pass it back to you, Ross.
Okay, I'd like to give a round of applause again for her sharing her story. I got it, and we're going to wrap things up for some quick questions, okay? Thank you, Jen. So we have a ton of swag. We're trying to build a veteran community, so you see shirts and pins and cups and stuff on campus, and we make sure vets of another generation who never told anyone they were in the service during Vietnam are now proud of their service. And we do all that on purpose because we find out someone is struggling when a professor says, hey, I'm worried about Ross in class, I'm really worried about him. And then we find out that network is what helps us take care of people. So we just get in everyone's business again. And then, just so you know, the translation, that's an Epic Veteran Victory coin. It's actually a Do Epic Shit coin. And we tell everyone, and we hand that out to the president. He laughed so hard. He said, let me guess, UNLV wouldn't let you put that on a coin. I said, bingo, sir. So, you know, we've been blessed with our partnership with SVA, and we just take care of people, but they've recognized us, and I'm proud of that. We were all virtual when Andrew was one of 10 candidates, and I was in an office at the UNLV by myself, and when he won, we're all on Zoom. I screamed so loud that the maintenance guy thought I was being assaulted, and it was like winning the Academy Award. I was so proud for him and his work with the team, and it's just been great. And that's the deal. That's on the cake. That's our grad rate. 2,523 grads in 9 years. That's everybody. And then I want to highlight Bruno. For those of you who went to MVP, Bruno was a social worker. He worked for Senator Heller. He worked for U.S. Vets. He now runs stuff with a team in Vegas with the NFL and the MVP and a lot of the Rebel Vets. But Noah, his predecessor, and himself were instrumental in getting MVP to come to UNLV. And now we're going to do it once a semester where the workout is at UNLV for all the Rebel Vets. And so that partnership will continue, and I'm proud of you, brother, and I'm happy that you're here. And yeah, I miss a few workouts, I know, but I'll get there one day. I'm afraid they'll kill me, you know. So, and at the end of the day, this is Colonel Wagner. It's our mission to make sure she's never forgotten. Long before we had a vet center, UNLV was not very military friendly, but she graduated from Army ROTC, the same ROTC I commanded years later. And I was the commander on 9/11, running PT with 9 cadets, hard to imagine, I know. But when the planes hit, she was the first Nevada to die at the Pentagon. So we have an oil painting of her, we have a piece of the Pentagon in honor of her, and the president has told us that we will one day have a one-stop shop vet center with a Lieutenant Colonel Karen Wagner Memorial Lounge like Pat Tillman has, and we will make sure she's never forgotten. And so that concludes our presentation. And what I'd like to do now is ask if anyone has any questions. Any questions from anyone? I'll be hanging out after the presentation. I know we went over a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
You open your SVA up to non-veterans, not including just like all students?
We had, but I wouldn't say all students. Military family members, of which we have many, we've had a few of them join us, and so we don't exclude them. But we also reach out to with our PAVE team with any student family member with challenges too. But I don't think we've ever opened it to the entire campus.
So the question was, do we open our SVA to all students? The concept that we have for this is anybody who is military connected. So if you are a veteran, if you're a spouse, if you're a dependent, if you are a family member of a veteran, like a brother or sister, a mother, you are welcome at Rebel Vets because it's all about supporting each other in the community. So yes, for the most part.
Yes?
Is your PAVE program for all student veterans or just incoming ones that are like new to the school?
That's a great question. So we start with all the incoming, but we've been doing it since 2014, so they've all been connected. We get about 300 vets in August, pre-pandemic, we're close, and 100 in January. So 400 each year. But then if we find out you're struggling and you've been here a while, then you're on the PAVE list, and then we connect with you, and then you continually connect. And Dwayne was out on a call. Dwayne, raise your hand. If you have PAVE questions, Dwayne will be in the hallway. He runs the PAVE program. Any other questions? Well, I'll close with, we just met with Truckee Meadows. If you could raise your hand, Philippe. Great Marine vet there. We're going to do another OBB if we get it approved. We're not going to walk across the entire state of Nevada. We're going to do 60 miles for the 58 Fallen, and we're going to do it in Vegas, and we're going to do it up at Reno, and we'll have the shirts and the coins and the pins and the medals. And Catherine works in D.C. Her only mission is to get us the medals. And if you want to fly out to Vegas and walk 10 miles with us, we'd be honored to have you.
Or Reno,
Or Reno. Yeah, you can fly to Reno. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. Rebel Vets and Rebel Vet alumni, we're going to get a photo real quick.